Hey y'all, it's Kobe R. Rice, and I'm back again for another weekly creative update. First and foremost, Happy New Year and Happy 2020. Actually, to be honest with you, this is my most favorite time of the year, aside from Thanksgiving, probably. My most favorite time of the year because this is when I really get to not only wrap up the things that I've done for the previous year, but also use that as a foundation and a springboard to get my goals and my project started for 2020. So I have to admit that actually the energy for the beginning of 2020 for me has actually been kind of off, and I'm not entirely sure why. For whatever reason, this is the first year where the first week or so of 2020 has felt like a midpoint for me as opposed to a fresh beginning. And that's honestly probably for I don't know how to say it, like universal, maybe astrological reasons. Because I was born I'm a summer baby. So for me, that's my actual new year is in June. And if we're going based on that calendar, technically January 1st is my midpoint year. Because there's calendar years and then there's personal New Year's and things like that. So happy calendar New Year for those of you who celebrate New Year January 1st, as do I. But also, I am looking forward to my personal New Year coming in June. So that actually might be a big reason as to why the energy is a little off for me. In addition to the fact that I am also still getting out of the holiday groove, which is a change because again, usually I am out of that groove by now and like on it. And for whatever reason, I'm just kind of like slowly gearing up and slowly, getting in the mix of things. But I'm sure the energy will pick up sometime soon. So, actually, I skipped over my entire intro. Hi, I am Kobe R. Rice, novelist, filmmaker, screenwriter slash TV writer, game designer, narrative designer, dramaturg, theater maker, director, producer, etc. And this is the 103rd episode. Let me just look on my little thing here. Hold on, because I don't want to be out here sounding crazy. Yes, this is the 103rd episode of the epic fantastical journey of a black female sci-fi writer. So thank you for joining me. And I'm really amped that I've actually been in the game now for over 100 episodes. So hopefully there will be many, many more to come. So this is obviously just going to be a pretty quick rundown of what my creative goals are for 2020 and sort of introducing the theme of 2020 to you guys, which I'm really excited about. And you might also be a little bit confused about because on its face, it looks and sounds a bit contradictory to my even having a podcast. So let's just get right on into it. So my goals for 2020 in terms of my theme specifically is going to be, or excuse me, are going to be, because there are multiple. This year is going to be the year of the creator, the year of health and wellness, as has been the past year and a half, but I want to continue that for 2020. And that also includes not just the physical body, but also the mental, emotional, and spiritual self care. I have been actually doing, in my personal opinion, very, very well with maintaining that self care across the board for the past year and a half for health and physical, and then for the past like 3 to 4 years in terms of just paying special attention to my emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health. So I want to continue that trend this year by making it another year of health, glow up, and wellness. And then the final sort of theme for the year, which is the most confusing, is the year of moving in silence. And before I get into the specific itemized goals that I'm going to be pursuing for this year, I just want to jump into the importance of moving in silence and sort of why I have decided that is going to be one of my themes for this year. And this is actually not something that I've created. It sort of started, oh my gosh, like what, like a decade ago now with that Lil Wayne song, Move in Silence, like the G in lasagna, right? But since then, moving in silence has become a theme for many people. And something that I've been noticing in particular is that it's become a theme for women of color in particular. At least maybe that's where I am focusing, because as you can see, I am a deliciously chocolatized, melanized, melanated woman of color myself. And so I pay closer attention to these social cultural movements that are happening within my community, focus on my particular group. And the idea of moving in silence is something that is growing in importance and in conversation, specifically because, well, the world is filled with people, for example, who don't necessarily share your vision. I wouldn't even call these people negative people. Some of them are negative. Others are just accidentally or willfully ignorant of your particular dreams, goals, and specifically, they are ignorant of your purpose. And that's not to insult or degrade anyone, it's just really spinning some facts for you. And so, like I said, some are actively hating on you. That's actually a very few minority. That's a very few set of people. Like they're kind of in the minority, but those tend to be a very powerful minority if you allow them to be. But most of the people that you will interact with are not going to actively move against you. They're going to just inadvertently, and like I said, accidentally, by proxy, dampen your progress because they are not aware and not in tune with what your purpose is. And being that you are the one who is in tune with your purpose, or at least you are striving and are on a path to understanding what your purpose is, you have to be very careful with whom you share your journey. And you have to be very careful with whom you let into your circle. And that's not to say that if people don't see your vision, they can't be your friends, but it is to say that you should save your energy, save your time, save your sharing of your progress and your successes for those people who you know are in your corner and have your back. And until then, keep it all under wraps. Not all of it, but a lot of it. The things that you feel are going to be a detriment um, if they are shared with the wrong people. And energy is also a really funny thing as well. And again, this is not to incite paranoia or mistrust in random people in your life. It's more to think about how you're going to preserve, focus, concentrate, and then direct your energy. And there's something very powerful about focusing your energy in one particular direction and concentrating it in one vessel as opposed to dispersing it across multiple people, places, and things. And so I think that for certain things that you hold, for which you hold the highest of intentions, it can be very helpful and fruitful for you to sit on your progress and your successes for a little bit. And then once you have achieved a certain goal, if you feel comfortable, if you feel in alignment with sharing, then do so and then share your journey so that others can follow in your footsteps. You know, you always want to make sure you drop the ladder behind you, you send the elevator back down behind you, after you get off rather, so that others can benefit from the inspiration that you provide. Because the moving in silence and the focusing, concentration, and the preservation of your energy is not about being selfish, and it's not about being a Grinch with your energy or with your knowledge and experiences. It's not about becoming a hater yourself and hiding the path so that others cannot follow behind you. That's bad energy, that's bad karma. It is for me about making sure that you are using all of your resources, both external and internal, which is your energy, in the right places, and that those resources are not sabotaged or damaged either purposefully or inadvertently by others who don't understand what you're trying to do, or frankly by others who don't support what it is you're trying to do. And those types of people are out there, both well meaning and both ill meaning. So, the reason why I think it's especially true for women of color is that I think I think personally in the past, 50 years or so, people are getting more and more used to us winning, basically. We've been out here for a while just doing our things, raising our families, starting businesses, getting our degrees, still being gorgeous because we don't crack. And still kind of getting ourselves together and pulling it through. But what I'm also noticing is that there's sometimes a little bit of resentment when you expand beyond societal expectations of you. I think sometimes society and even the people around us sort of expect people who look like me and beyond and all different kinds of shades, sort of on my spectrum of me, right? They don't expect women of color to succeed, to, for example, like be CEOs and run things and have investments and have nice houses and like be just well watered and, you know, basking in light and sunshine and blossoming. And that's not to say that those material things are the point and the fruit of life. I'm not saying that at all. Those are just tangible examples for you guys to grasp onto. I'm just saying, I don't think the world is particularly used to seeing women of color, particularly black women, being well watered. I think the world is used to us being sort of like strong mammies and mules who are out here carrying everybody's burdens, but not being carried ever ourselves. And when you start to engage in what I call extreme, ultimate forms of self care, like when you put your needs first and then you take up care of other people, when you decide that it's your opinion and your opinion alone, that is the most important in terms of leading your life, your career, your family life, your friend life, your love life, things like that. People tend to get a little bit offended because they feel like you're stretching a little bit outside of your box. You're getting a little bit outside of your lane. And until the world is used to seeing us just being fabulous and well watered and on point and just doing it and not being surprised when we have multiple achievements under our belt, when we have, like I said, those fruits of life, when our trees are bearing fruit, when they start getting used to our trees and our orchards bearing fruit constantly, and that's a thing that it becomes native to them, I think it's safer for us to move in silence collectively. Taking gender and race and background out of it, I think it's important for people in general, as I said before, to really prioritize moving in silence, mostly because the more you move, the farther you go. And if you're busy talking, like I'm talking on this podcast, usually you're not doing, you know? I've actually seen that in my life, just in the past 3 or 4 months. And you guys know I'm actually super productive, according to my yearly roundups and my quarterly roundups and things like that. I like getting things done. I like projects getting off the slate as much as I can. Whether it's directing, whether it's with novels and business building and things like that. I like to see progress. That's really important to me. But when I was in overdrive for the past 3 to 4 months, from 4:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., you heard nothing from me. And that wasn't even me being intentional about my silence. That was just me being forced into silence, where I wasn't producing or recording podcasts because I was so busy doing. All right. Literally, I was engaging in 15 to 16 hours of doing and creating every single day. And as a result, as you guys will have discovered if you listen to my last podcast on my creative achievements roundup for 2019, that doing has actually really helped me to bear some nice fruit for the end of the year, including me finally hitting publish on the audiobook for the lock-in, me co-directing a really fabulous production and co-producing a fabulous production of Romeo and Juliet at the high school that I'm working at, and many more things that I've achieved throughout the year. So when you are actually actively, willfully engaged in your doing and your moving and shaking, you don't really have much time to talk. So moving in silence is actually not only helping to preserve your energy and focus your energy, and it's not only helping people to, it's not only helping you to establish your boundaries against those who don't understand you or who would actively work against you, but it's also just helping you to stay more productive. And so that's why I'm going to try my best to continue moving in silence. Now, what that means for me is that I will still be on the podcast, obviously. I will still be giving you guys updates. This is literally a podcast about my journey, but I think the podcast will start to take on a slightly different tenor in terms of how much I decide to report versus the lessons that I'm learning in my journey. So I think I'm going to focus a lot more on the lessons, and I'll give you guys like a glut of updates throughout the year as to what projects are actually being finished and taken off the slate. This is going to be a very challenging shift for me because I am very used to being very open, and I still will be very open about my creative progress. But what I'm trying to do is just, like I said, let's put it this way, tactically preserve my energy and tactically announce my successes. Because not everybody who is watching this is necessarily, like I said, in the zone of like being supportive. And that's not me just trying to like be negative or paranoid. It's just the laws of the universe and the laws of statistics. So that's what the case is for me. So that's what I think about moving in silence. You guys will then hopefully, if I am successful at this, be getting a lot of really wonderful surprises throughout the year in the sense of what I'm doing, what I'm finishing, and what I am engaging in with regard to new projects. All right, so let's just get into the tea. This is going to be a really quick setting goals for this year. And yes, I have been very selective with which goals I'm actually going to like share. But I do want to get at least all of these goals done for this year. Okay, so in the writing and publishing realm, I am aiming to successfully fully publish 4 novels if possible. I did 2 last year. I'm trying to up my game this year by doing 2 more. So I'm going to try to do the next 2 novels in the Books of Ezekiel series. Those novels, as you guys already know, are entitled Fraternity, which is book number 4, and Hollow Point, which is book number 5. I'm also trying to get out episode number 1 officially of When in Rome, which is, again, my cyberpunk noir adaptation of Shakespeare's Roman history tetralogy, inclusive of real-life Roman history. So Shakespeare's tetralogy can really only last for so many books. So we're actually going to, I say we as though it's 2 of us doing this. I'm actually going to set the Shakespearean version of these events in the actual Roman context, of historical context of actual things that happened in Rome. So it'll be a big mix of fact and fiction. The fiction being the little part Shakespeare added in, and fact being that this series will actually follow events of Roman history between a certain time to a certain time. And I am really excited about it. So that's definitely going to be project number 3 for this year that I'm trying to get off my plate. And then I also want to publish the first book of the Asylum series, which is going to be entitled Sodom. I'm super excited about the premise. I've actually been working on that a lot toward for the past few weeks, specifically toward the end of 2019. The last 2 weeks of December, I've made a lot of progress on that series. So I hope that will be my last published work of 2020. And so 4 books, roughly 1 book per quarter, I'm hoping, and we'll see what happens with that. For filmmaking and directing, as you guys know, it has been my goal to actually start principal photography on the SANDMAN film series, which I go back and forth in deciding whether or not it's going to be a film series or a TV series. But I think it's actually going to be both. And I'm going to figure out how to make that work. That is something that I am now putting under wraps. So I will let you guys know when it actually happens. So stay tuned for that. But I'm going to, in order to make that film happen, obviously, I have a lot to do between now and the end of the year. I have to finish the actual screenplay or teleplay or both. So that's the goal, is to at least finish the screenplay, finish pre-production for the actual movie, finish editing and tightening up the script, and then obviously finish directing and shooting the actual movie and getting that in the can. So that is the goal, is to get the actual SANDMAN film in the can. Even if it's not edited by the end of the year, my goal is to make sure all of principal photography has concluded, and that also includes ADR and things like that, okay? So that's my goal. That's for filmmaking and directing. For theater directing, my goal obviously is to finish co-directing The Color Purple, the musical, for spring 2020. We are so excited at our high school to be putting together this joint production between my high school and the high school that lives upstairs from us. And we will be opening The Color Purple May 20th and May 21st. So we are super excited. We've already started getting everything together, and we're having our interest meetings and our auditions in the next week and a half, and we are amped for it, absolutely. So those are my 2 major directing goals for this year, is to co-direct, that theater production, The Color Purple, the musical, at the high school level, and then also to finish directing and shooting my very first feature film, SANDMAN, which is gonna be in the horror and survival horror, paranormal horror genres. So I'm really excited about all of that. It's going to be a lot of work. So I'm just gonna take it one day at a time and do everything bit by bit. For teaching, I actually have teaching goals this semester. And one of my primary goals is to make sure that I have my first full school year's worth of lesson plans in the can by the end of this entire school year. So thus far, I have been able to successfully manage getting September, October, November, and December's lessons in the can. January's lessons are following suit. I'm already ahead, so I'm excited about that. And this is a goal that will naturally be achieved with me just working at my job as a theater teacher, because our lesson plans are due every single week. And so it is incumbent upon me not just professionally but also creatively, to get all those in the can. I keep saying in the can, but in the box actually, for us specifically, by the end of June. So that's a goal that I'm positive I'm going to actually be able to achieve. So I'm not really worried about that. And oh, so there's a couple other goals on here. But the main goal that I want to share is that at our school, for the first time, we are going to be, we meaning my students and I, so that's about almost half of the school's student population, because I teach grades 9 through 12. My students and I are going to be writing, editing, polishing, and publishing, yes, publishing, our short stories, plays, scripts, and teleplays, if they want to write teleplays. And we're actually going to put together independently, professionally published volumes of my students' work. And I am so excited. They're actually pretty excited as well. I think there's a little bit of overwhelm because they have no idea how to go about doing this. But being that I already know how to do this, because that's what I do, this is how I roll. I am so excited to lead them through the process of taking something from concept stage all the way to finished published work stage. And the most exciting part about that is that by the end of the spring, probably about the end of March or so, they will each of them be able to hold in their hands a physical copy of work that they have actually written themselves. And this is really amazing and groundbreaking. And I don't say I don't say that because I'm the one heading up the project. It's groundbreaking because when I actually sat down to look for plays for my students to read at the very beginning of the year, I noticed that there were very few plays written for and or by youth of color, which is a huge, massive disservice to a lot of the kids that live here in New York City and across the country and the world, who want to see themselves reflected in theater and see things that are entertaining, that are fun, but that also have some gravity and deal with issues that they themselves feel are important. And so when I found that there weren't many short plays for students to connect to so that they can read and perform them themselves, I decided in my mind, well, obviously that means my students have to write plays and scripts and things like that. And they have to publish them so that they can have their name on something. They can be writing about things that are well within their experience as youth of color, and so that they can be catalysts in the provision of work of other youths of color to license and perform at their own schools. So that's really important to me in terms of getting my students' work out there, impacting the world of theater, and also just giving my students an entirely different perspective on what it is they can do as young people of color to effect change on the level of media and social artifact. So excited about that goal. I want to actually be able to achieve it by the end of our first unit, but that's really only about 7 or 8 weeks. So this might extend to unit number 4 as well, because we're on unit 3 right now. So we'll see. But definitely, I would say by the end of unit 4, I'm putting this in the universe. I want physical copies of my students' work, meaning big fat volumes of plays, scripts, and teleplays in their hands with their names on it, okay, that they can literally take, put on their shelves, read, experience, license to other schools and other people who want to perform their works, and that they can actually, if they wanted to, even sell for a profit and sell signed copies and like literally have Oh my gosh, I just got this amazing idea. Amazing idea. I want to organize an event at my school. I'm doing this now, okay? I want to organize an after school book signing where we actually have copies of students' work and they are actually signing copies and selling copies. And I want it to be a fundraiser for the each class that I'm teaching for whatever it is they want to do. Maybe we'll actually start saving up towards like a theater show or something that we want to go to or something like that, right? Um, so yeah, yeah, that's just what it's gonna be. That is what it's going to be. We're gonna write, publish, polish, edit, and produce all those things. Our own plays, scripts, teleplays, short stories. We're gonna have them in ebook copy, in physical copy. We're going to be able to have a really lovely, wonderful book signing where students are actually signing book copies of their books and selling them. And then what I would like is for, because the next unit technically is directing and producing. So then I want students to be selecting certain scenes from the published volumes that they're putting together and actually cast and direct and produce these scenes on stage for performance in front of the school. Okay, so that's it. That is it. That is absolutely 1,000% it. So those are the goals for theater teaching this year. I am so excited. And oh, one other major goal is because we are not only publishing our own work, but also directing and producing our own work, the major crowning achievement is that we will be officially establishing our own internal theater company, which is going to be a joint company between my high school and the high school upstairs, and also a publishing company by the same name. So we got a lot going on, and I'm really excited. Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about it, thinking about how I want to really kick up the theater program at the school and start building in a culture of creative entrepreneurship, ownership, bravery, creative bravery, and also just creating a home where we are doing interesting, fun, wonderful, impactful things. So that is the plan for theater teaching for this year. And the great thing about that is that I know it's going to work considering the fact that I spend most of my time at my job doing my theater teaching thing. So I have nothing but time, have nothing but opportunity to work on these dreams with my students and turn them into realities. And I cannot be more excited. So, anyway, health and wellness goals. So I had a really wonderful year. If you'll look back at my 2019 wrap up and roundup, had a great year in terms of slimming down and getting healthier, trying to continue that trend, losing, even more of this delightful, delicious baby weight. Um, and by my birthday, I'm trying to get to a certain level in terms of both um, physical fitness and like endurance. So that's my goal. It's just to keep on my health and wellness journey and to get more toned. So hopefully you'll see the changes being reflected as that happens over the year. And oh my gosh, guys, that's really it. It's a really short list, honestly, of goals that I have for 2020. In addition to moving in silence for the majority of my goals, I've also started to slim my goals down and trim the fat off of my goals list. Not because I've become less enthusiastic or less hardworking. It's just more so I want fewer things to focus on so I can actually get those things off of my plate. Again, it's about the concentration and the focus of energy, about that deep work. So those are my primary goals. I have a whole list of complementary goals, which I'm going to keep under wraps with the exception of one. which, or two of those goals, which is to obviously continue my creative uni. I don't know what direction I'll be swinging in terms of classes I'll be taking this year for 2020. And for those of you just joining us, welcome. I want to explain to you that creative uni for me is basically about me educating myself about different topics and issues and basically the craft of writing, screenwriting, filmmaking, directing, just educating myself about those things on my own, either by reading books, by taking courses, by creating courses, which is a big thing for me, which I love to do. Uh, I've been doing that a lot since 2016, and it has helped me become a much more knowledgeable artist, a much more knowledgeable professional, and I love it. I love being an autodidact. So, of course, that trend is going to continue throughout the year of 2020. Creative Uni is still going to be on fleek. I have a feeling I'm going to be focusing more on the screenwriting tip, the entrepreneurship tip, and the brand building tip, because you guys know I have the Bohemian Badass that I'm trying to build up as a brand. And TV writing is going to be a focus. It was a major focus in 2018, but I'm going to sort of make that a minor complementary focus to my screenwriting focus this year. And obviously, directing and filmmaking is going to be a huge major focus this year. So that's probably going to be the direction of my creative uni. So that's one complementary goal I wanted to share. The second one is that, as usual, I will be engaging in research, world building, and shadow development of several of my IPs and intellectual properties. You guys know that I have several series on my project slate that I want to release through Rebel Ragdoll, either through Rebel Ragdoll Press or Rebel Ragdoll Productions, Chick Rogue Studios, or The Bohemian Badass. And so as I go throughout the year, I will be working on certain series, not telling you which ones yet. I will be working on certain series in order to get those ready to get off of my plate as the months and the years go by, because I do at a certain point want to get as many of these series out as possible. So in my little twilight hours, in my in-between time, meantime, in-between time, I'm going to be working on researching world building, plot building, character design, language design, if I have to make languages, which I love doing. I love it so much. And just series design and IP design for my other properties. And that's it, guys. Sorry I couldn't come with like a stronger, more upbeat energy today. Like I said, for whatever reason, I don't know, the universe, the stars are just kind of like making me chill out and chillax right now. But I am no less excited about 2020 than I was about 2019. I am super amped to see what this year holds. And I'm super amped to share my journey with you guys as I can, as I'll hopefully be able to. But as the school year kind of kicks back up again and my hours become longer with both my work day and my rehearsal time, I'll be on here a little bit less. But I will try to get on here as much as I can. I wish you guys a wonderful, amazing 2020. I hope that you guys set your own intentions for what you want this year, whether creatively, personally, professionally, financially, friend-wise, romantically, family-wise, whatever it is you want to do, set your intention. Focus your positive thoughts and energy on that intention. Create an action plan, execute, and move in silence. Move in silence. I cannot stress that enough. Please move in silence. And if you have to tell somebody, tell me, because I'm always going to be the person putting out positive vibes, even to people that I don't even know. I just like to see people winning. I like to see people like engaged and wrapped up in their creative realness and their creative oneness and in their creative love. Because as we create more, and as we create from a place of passion and love, we make the world better as artists. And I just want to encourage you guys as artists to keep on your journey. stay badass, keep it indie, keep creating, and I will talk to you guys as soon as I can. As soon as I physically can, I will talk to you guys next time. Mwah. Bye.